Hey guys, welcome back. Back
Mm.
to first draft.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's got a lot of things to talk about today, and it's been a weird week. So there's been a strange video that we have to talk about. Um, this conservative young lady named Emily Saves USA, I believe. She put out a video that a lot of conservatives had uh, a response to that we have to address. So I'm gonna summarize it and then yeah. So
Talking about trad wives.
Yeah.
about the trad wife situation, this has been blowing up on social media. People have all kinds of commentary on it.
It's more of a modern movement.
But in her
Right,
video,
right,
she's
yeah.
she's railing against the trad wife
Right.
like trend. Not the traditional wife, but the trad wife trend.
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So
That makes sense.
trad wife, for those who don't know, it's a euphemism, of course. Trad wife is short for traditional wife, social media term for a woman who embraces a traditional marital role, eschewing a career for being a stay-at-home mom, and often sharing nostalgic content online. In her video, Emily Wilson, who is Emily Saves America, or USA, she mocked women who just want to make sourdough for your husband and cautioned them to find a way to make money on their own to avoid being financially trapped in a marriage. She added, I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money, adding that young women hoping to find a man who will give them a trad wife lifestyle have a slim to none chance of finding one. She said, you're actually setting yourself up for failure because it cannot be easier if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man, okay? The video sparked fury among some hardline MAGA figures, with podcaster Matt Walsh, who has probably been brought up on this podcast before, questioning if she belongs in the conservative movement at all. So
Wow.
there's a response from another conservative, Raquel Dono, founder of Make America Hot Again.
Is she a conservative?
I assume so. If you're going to adopt Trump's kind of.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We got to look her up. She told Daily Mail that those promoting trad wife nostalgia may be revealing too much. The loudest voices pushing the trad wife thing probably just can't afford nannies, she scathed. This whole movement is starting to sound less like a moral stance and more like a budgeting issue. Funny how it's always the guys with no job, no plan, and no personality demanding a trad wife. Like, sir, you don't need a submissive wife, you need a LinkedIn account. Oh man, I've got a lot of issues with this stuff.
And so the second person that you're referring to, what was her name again? Raquel what?
Raquel, I guess that was the
So
critic.
she actually supported what Emily was saying too.
Yes, I think.
I don't think she was. I think she was actually saying that you can mitigate all this stuff by hiring a. Let me make sure I'm getting this correct. Hold on.
But what would be the point if you're a trad
No,
wife?
she was
and
supporting.
She was supporting.
supporting.
What's the point of you being a
Yeah,
trad
read
wife
it,
if you're
read
just going to
it.
hire a nanny?
No,
Like
that's not.
Well, that's what career women do. Like
That's not what she said.
Oh.
Did y'all?
No. I think
She
okay.
said hire a
Hold
nanny.
on. So
She said it sounds like a budgeting problem.
she says
Yeah, people that are promoting it.
the loudest voices pushing the trad wife thing probably just can't afford nannies. That's what she says.
Yeah.
This whole movement is starting to sound less like a moral stance
Right.
and more like a budgeting issue.
Yeah, so she's agreeing with Emily.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I got gathered from it.
Do you not gather that from it, Chris?
You think she's opposing?
No. I think Raquel is correct, but Emily has not. I think she has not done the. She has not looked far enough to realize what the implications of her statement actually entail, which because if she actually wants. So she's denigrating this kind of trad lifestyle, sure, because really the issue is that you need two incomes to support a family in 2025.
That's not true.
To support
But stick to what she's saying, not to what you think the issue is.
but that's what
I mean,
what
he
Emily
can
is.
discuss what he thinks.
No, I know,
so-
but right now,
But
I want
Emily
him
You
to
want to get into
say
the
kind
core of
of
the issue?
what he said that she's not thinking. Emily's not thinking deep enough into it, and I'm wanting to know what do you mean by that. So, what do you mean by that? She's
that
not looking deep enough into it.
she's just looking at she's looking at it very directly.
Mm-hmm.
She's thinking that if you're not looking for a husband whose immediate job can afford you to have a stay-at-home lifestyle, then you're SOL. You can't. That's not something that's realistic.
But I think she's also saying, even if you can find a husband that way, don't resort to just being a traditional wife. Like, still have some type of way you can make income as well. Like, you can still have that, I guess, traditional definition of the confines of your marriage, but
Yeah.
like, don't be the stereotypical not have any financial outlet for yourself. Like,
But I want to know, what do you think Emily's saying? What do you think Emily's saying?
So
he's given his opinion.
Emily is operating on the assumption that, and a lot of people do this, and I think it cripples them, is that the only way that you can actually that you can gain resources in 2025 is to subject yourself to an employee contract, also known as a W-2.
Not
I
necessarily,
don't
because
think
So that
she
you
didn't
can-
say, she didn't say
so that you
that.
can-
She said find.
No.
She said find a way.
But let him explain what he thinks that Emily's
I'm
saying.
looking a little bit further into what her claim is.
Okay.
That's what she wants.
No, we just want to know what
She's-
you understand her
Okay, let him
claim
speak,
is.
bro. Yeah.
Her claim is that she thinks that, okay, her telos, her teleology, her purpose is, she's acknowledging that jobs only exist and careers only exist for the purpose of putting money into your bank account. And so she's saying that, hey, if you can't do that, then, oh gosh, like you need to think about something else.
I don't think that's what she's saying at all.
Yeah, I disagree with you a little. I think what you're really meaning is that she's saying find some form of income as a wife in this marriage, or a partner, whatever you want to define it
like
as.
bringing in
It
revenue.
doesn't necessarily mean a traditional job role or employer wages, because she said find a hobby that you like and try to monetize it. So she's saying monetize
Did
something.
she say that? Did she say those words?
She
Find
did-
a hobby
she did
that
say
you
that.
like
and
She did.
monetize
and
it.
monetize. Okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
We can check the video, but I'm
Right.
almost
she did,
You
she
didn't
did.
just listen. We did.
Yes, and so that doesn't necessarily mean a traditional job role,
No.
because maybe you monetize something where you can be a, in quotations, trad wife and stay at home with your kids. So in my opinion, I feel like that's what she's saying more of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also she's saying there's not going to be a lot of choices for that traditional lifestyle, in my opinion. Like, she's saying it's next to near impossible to find these days. And I don't know. What do you think she's saying?
Well, I think she's saying, hey, don't build your plans on something that maybe is only possible 10 or 20% of the time.
Maybe less than that.
Maybe
Right?
less than that, like the same thing as saying, hey, don't, build your future plans on becoming a pro basketball player when, like, it's just the top 1% that gets drafted
Yeah.
into the NBA. It's that same
Yeah.
type of thing. I think that's what she's saying.
Completely agree with that.
And I think it's more possible for sure. And it's more possible if you marry someone that has the same values as you, and that has gone to college and can be a provider for their family. I do think it's a lot more possible than what she's making it out. I don't know how much more possible. I don't want to quantify it. I think it seems to me like it's more possible than what she's making it out to be, but her point is very valid. For example, I have a real life example.
Yeah, give us this.
Sure.
So I met this family, and the mom and the dad and the daughter is 19.
Okay.
And I asked, we were talking about, they have a son also. We were talking about his son. I think he's into, like, he's a mechanic or something, so he didn't go to college. But the daughter, like, she's musical, right? Anyway, I asked if she was going to be going to college or what. I think she might have she's 18, so she can go to college now, this coming fall.
That's fine.
And the mom was like, no, she graduated early because she was homeschooled, so she chose to go ahead and finish and do all her stuff to graduate at 17 or something.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, is she going to college? And she's like, no, we're not like big on college. And they're not like uneducated people. Whatever.
We get the gist.
Okay, you get the gist. But she didn't just say no, she's not going to go to college because she's going to go into real estate, or no, she's not going to go to college because she's gotten into real estate, or she's gotten into this, or she's starting her own business, or she's doing this. It's just basically she just put down college, right? And I'm like, okay, well, what are her plans? Well, her plan is like no plans. She has no plans. They are just such and as a Christian, I'm a Christian, but this is such this is a Christian family, but they are so,
Sure.
I don't know what their mindset is, because she's in a relationship. She met a guy that's long distance, and so they're talking on the phone, like they've been talking for like 6 months. But I think she is the perfect example of someone who's expecting that trad lifestyle. So she's decided to find, instead of focusing on, okay, in the meantime, that's ultimately what I want in life, is to get married, have kids, and eventually, and that could be eventually, stay at home with the kids. But I think the ones that are successful doing that are the ones that are like, in the meantime, I'm going to go to college, or I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to make the money. Not I'm going to finish college early and then sit at home and maybe work part-time and hope this guy that's long distance works out so I can be his trad wife. And the mom, the way her mom, so this girl's 18, the way her mom, who was probably like 50 or something, talked about college, it was so derogatory that I was like, well, no wonder your daughter has like no ambitions or aspirations of her own. I mean, I don't know how you can be okay with that. And I am not saying that people have to go to college, but there is a lot of value in doing something for yourself, and something that's like expands your mind and makes you be a critical thinker. And if you have
at the end of the day,
if you have no plans in life at this moment, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with going to college. And like, it builds character, it builds self-esteem, it creates
and let me not to interrupt you, but at the end of the day, and I want you to continue your point, you can also monetize that. You can also use that experience to make money for yourself if the fallout from whatever your plan A does not work out.
Even if there's a fallout and it doesn't work out, right? Mm-hmm. You only have kids, and they're only little for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Now, actually, let me take it back to say most of these people that want to be like stay-at-home moms are also going to homeschool their kids. So it's not like at 5 they're going off to kindergarten either,
I get that.
So for the next 18 years. But I just think there's a lot. I didn't like how the mom put it down. I understand if you don't want to prioritize college or an education.
Explain to me why you felt she was putting it down. You think it was because of this mentality that she's referring to?
I don't know why it was, but when I asked her if her daughter's going to college, she was like, no, we're not like worried about college. And she's not worried about college like that. Like almost like a smugness in her response. And I was like, it's not that they're just like,
But what if she actually said she was going to real estate school and like her plan was to do real estate? Like it doesn't necessarily have
No,
to
it
be
doesn't have to be.
college.
That would be good.
What
That's
if she
what
said
I'm
she was
saying.
going to trade school and wanted to be a
That's
welder?
what I'm saying. That would be
something
good.
like that.
That's exactly what I just said.
Or like
That would be good. But the mom said, we don't care about college. But then it's like, oh, okay, so what's she going to do? Nothing.
nothing.
That's the thing. It's
That's
like you're
crazy.
so smug about making sure that people know you don't care about your daughter going to college. But like, you're like, when you're asked or when she's asked, like, what else? What are you going to do? Like, she didn't even have a full-time job. She's just like she works gigs. And
Gigging
it's
can
like,
be a thing, but I mean, it's
gigging
not
can be a thing, but when you're 18 and this is your time to like set a foundation in your life to like actually do something that's difficult, that's fun, that's engaging, that promotes critical thinking, that like can lead you to something that could become something entrepreneurial. You're just like, I feel like it's a cop out. I feel like it's a cop out. Even the mentality, I feel like what's a cop out? The mom's mentality is a
I was
cop
going to say,
out.
it seems like it's the mom
And I think
impressing
that
herself upon the daughter, which is fine. I mean, it's her daughter; she has the right to do that. But you disagree with that, with her mode of influence on her, is what you're saying. Like, why?
I do
agree with
because
you.
it's
I
like
agree with you
it's
too.
like, well, now you're not just like letting your daughter make her own decisions. The smugness that with which you answered is basically indoctrinating your daughter to be like, yeah, I don't care about college. I mean, not any kid. A lot of kids or a lot of young people would be like, oh, for sure, if my parents don't care, I'm not going to go to
I don't
college.
care. Yeah.
You know, it's like you just set her up to do what you think she should do because why? Maybe because you're scared of what's in college, and I don't blame you for that.
Can
you
I
know?
ask you something, and you may not know? What does her mom do? Or did she play the
Oh,
role of a traditional wife?
I was
Does she
trying.
have
No,
a job?
I was
Like,
trying
what
to.
is her role
No,
within
no,
her
no.
family
I was
dynamic?
trying to think, and I feel like the mom is the one
breadwinner?
who she works and she has worked, I think, and I think she's like the one who no, let me not say that. I feel like she's kind of the one who runs her family, meaning her husband. And now she has imposed this thing on her daughter, which is almost like maybe something, I don't know
Like
why.
negative Nancy, like pessimistic.
No, like maybe, what if I live my life this way instead of this way? Let me impose the other way of living the life on my daughter. But
I want to know why. Like, what is her motivation behind that? I guess is what I'm asking, which you may not know.
I don't know, but I think part of it is, okay, this is so my opinion. This is just my opinion. I think that she's one of those really judgmental Christians.
Okay.
That is like, oh, the world. Ugh.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot
to
more
the
sense.
point that it's like, well, like
I guess I was trying to tie it back to our main point in the fact that like, is she like at the end of the day, I think what
she has made her daughter into one of these girls that she's railing against. Because I don't think Emily is railing against a person that truly wants to be at the end of the day a traditional wife and have kids and homeschool their kids and raise their kids, because I think that's a great thing. But the thing is, she's railing against these girls that are like, that is their goal and that is their plan. And their plan, when you make that your goal and your plan, and there's nothing else that you're building in the meantime, then you're making a person your goal and your plan, because everything is dependent on that husband, or else the plan doesn't go off.
Yeah, and if a fissure happens in that relationship, if you'll separate, then what do you do?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why the trend changed during our time as Gen Xers, like from the baby boomers, where even though it wasn't called trad back then, but the traditional way of marriage and life plans worked.
I just think the term trad is cringe.
I do, but we're
no,
keeping it in the context of what we're
you're
talking
using
about.
the word that they're using.
Right.
I'm
because I mean that's the way the headlines are being made. We have all these neo terms that are just shortened versions of hype words. I mean, like woke and all that stuff. It's just it's all like colloquialisms that
neologisms. Exactly.
And so my point is, I think that's why that lifestyle disappeared, like back even in our time, like after the baby boomers, which is the height of that ideology and the height of the way that life plan was optimal.
Yeah,
mostly
it was
yeah.
optimal because I think that
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, this is my plan. It was just like, this is what needs to happen for us
Right.
to survive and have kids and become a family. And I do think that the whole, you know, having your family set up a certain way is everyone's business, and every each person his own, whatever, however it's
I
said.
completely agree.
And
with
I
that.
think it is I do think it is the best way for your family. I truly do. But it's
You don't think it's realistic?
no, I'm not saying it's not realistic either. I think what she's saying and what I'm saying is, don't make that your only goal, and use that as an excuse not to do something in the meantime until you meet that person. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Like if you don't meet your
But even if you
husband,
meet that person, it still seems almost
and
like a
before
cop out.
and before you have kids, like, there'll be a period of time before you have kids, like there's stuff that you can do for yourself, and don't use
agree.
that as a cop out to be like, no, my ultimate goal is the trad wife. So that's all I'm going
Yeah.
to think about. That's all I'm going to focus on. Are you going to college? No, because I'm going to be a trad wife. And it's like,
Yeah, because
dude,
a trad
but
wife ultimately is not a career. Like it's not a career.
It's
It's not even a profession.
it's not
even
anything that, like, there's good, like, it's good to learn. It's good to do things for yourself. It's good to have, even in scripture, it talks about meaningful work, and it talks about, like, meaningful work can be an education,
It can be.
Well,
and it's like
yeah.
that trend is seeing these girls set all that aside and use not going to college as a cop out for.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
what I'm
I'm gonna finish
that
up with
make
this
sense?
with
It makes a lot of sense.
maybe we might have to do another segment on this another time, but
I'm
I
good.
will.
Maybe
I
we
want
can
to finish with
continue
this.
for the second segment.
Perhaps
I don't know, why not? We can take a break.
work. I think we should have a definition for it, and this is where I think a lot of people get confused.
You trade time for resources.
Exactly. So
That's the definition of work.
Work is trading labor for money. So, and that comes in many different ways.
Labor is many different ways.
That comes
Just make sure
in
you
the
define
form
that. It doesn't
of
mean like lifting bricks over a fence
No,
all the time.
no.
but it can
It
come in
can mean that,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yes.
saying, but there's other ways to do that, especially in our current world.
So I'm just saying
Expending
that's what it
energy,
means.
any type of way.
No, not necessarily, because I expend energy at the gym and I don't get money.
We're talking
it.
about the energy that you trade something for, though.
But energy is physical. You can also trade mental energy.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I'm
Energy,
I'm talking about
energy. When you exchange
that's why I have a
energy,
very specific definition, Blanca. It's exchanging labor for money. That's all it is. Exchanging labor for money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same thing as a job exchanges labor for money.
Mm-hmm.
A career achieves the same purpose. That's the same purpose as a career. Except as humans, we have a weird kind of understanding where we like to attribute, we like to think a career is different than a job. We think a career is a career is a job, but you get meaning, you get status, you get identity, you get increased pay.
Yeah.
Even though
sure.
That's the main thing.
That's the main
it's really
thing.
just a glorified job. That's all you're doing.
It is. The glorification comes in like being able to make a lot more money.
And
so
sometimes
that's all it is.
You actually like what you're doing.
That's what you
exactly.
Career.
Yeah.
Whereas with the job, like when I got my first job, I worked at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I can't really honestly say, even though I like the job, I love being at the grocery store.
Yeah.
It was a nice job, right?
Like, hey, I don't have any experience. This is what I'm doing. That's much different than a career where you can actually have an interest or an invested motivation within the parameter of your job. And you're making more money at that. And you may be able to work less time. So you're trading less labor than a job.
Correct. But you're still trading. You're still not as efficient as the person who's retired. The person who's retired is making your wage doing nothing but sitting on their ass.
But what's the point of saying that?
What does it have to do with the traditional
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Just that's what everybody should achieve to.
Okay, well, let's stay
focused on what we're talking about.
Okay, all right, fine. Well, That's the.
And I know me and you've had
it's
a
kind of
similar conversation. Like,
well,
recently.
it's kind of similar because the trad wife here, the main issue is that somebody has to go and be an employee at a corporation to bring home money. That is the issue with this whole situation. If they didn't have to deal with that, then they would not have any of these issues.
But I feel like
Whoever
we're
this
What's
talking
M1
the
person
point of
is.
you saying that, though? What is the point of that?
Well, perhaps that means that we should all be striving to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I get that. Because that's what I was about to, I guess,
Maybe
give an opposing thought. Like,
maybe everybody should be using their jobs to be like landlords at a
Should we?
at a
But
young
what does
age,
that have to do with what we're talking about?
because that solves all
I'm
these problems.
confused.
The problem
How?
is because her issue is financial.
right, but that's
But
almost every
her
human.
issue is not just financial. Also, you
Yeah.
got to read between the lines. Her issue is also it's cringe. She used the word cringe. These
She
girls,
did, sure.
these girls having no goal in life other than for a man to be their goal so they can work and have babies and be at home, but they
And also-
use that as a cop out to not have
And
anything
also,
else
I
in
think
their
it's
life.
more.
That's
I think
the issue.
what he said too supports what you're saying. That also becomes your only identity if
Yeah.
you're only looking for that.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Yes, it does. How doesn't
If
it?
the girls she's railing against, yes, that
Yeah,
becomes her
the
only
way that
identity.
she's
You
speaking
should not
about
be finding your identity within your work.
I didn't.
We didn't.
Why
We're not
not?
saying that. We're
I'm
not
saying
we're
that.
not
I'm saying that
that
to choose to be a traditional wife and that's your only ambition, your goal, your purpose.
Okay.
You're assigning your only identity to that. So if that happens to not work out, I'm not saying that it won't. Then that's all you have to define yourself by. And like,
I think
ultimately,
not
the goal of
necessarily true because there's a lot of women that are traditional wives and they're doing things also on their own.
right. So they have
We
a
are
different
talking-
identity
right
other than the
here,
traditional
she
wife.
is talking about a very specific group of, let's say, 18 to 22-year-olds or something that are using this trad wife trend as an
Which is an
excuse.
identity.
Yes, as an excuse to not go further on anything for themselves in the meantime until they get that. It's not like there's anything wrong with it, but it's wrong if you only aspire to that. And in the meantime, while you don't have that, you don't work on anything else.
And that's
You
what I'm
need
saying.
to
You don't-
have
you-
your own
But that's not the
thing.
implication.
You need to have
Yeah.
your own entity. And
Yeah.
he's saying that he doesn't agree with that. And I think that's
You don't
why.
agree with that?
And I think that's what he's saying.
No. Is
There's-
it? Oh, I didn't get that from. I know you said
He did.
your
He
job.
said
Your
identity.
job shouldn't be your only identity, but just because we're saying that doing something for yourself is also important that doesn't equate or equivocate to your job should be your only identity. That's not what we're saying at all. That's like
not
a huge
just her job, but
that's
her,
a huge
like,
jump.
her role in the trad, I guess, home front or
No, but
lifestyle.
he said he pushed back on you just now and said your career shouldn't be your identity. And
Right.
Correct.
what we're saying doesn't
I will
mean
stand by that. Yes.
That
Yeah,
your career
but
is
we
your
agree.
only. That doesn't mean that your career is your only identity.
I agree with you. We're not what we're saying doesn't mean
But he's
That
allowed to
person-
hold that position.
he's
Blanca.
allowed, and I agree with his position. Can y'all listen to what I'm saying?
We
I
can.
am saying that what you're saying and what I'm saying does not equal us saying that we disagree with that. Does that make sense? We're saying what we're saying, and he hears career should be your identity. We're not saying career should or shouldn't be your identity.
He's saying that career should never be your identity.
Right, but we're not saying that.
No, we're not. So that's
And
why I
that's
said
what
we're
I'm
different.
saying.
We're different.
We're exactly the same when it comes to that. He doesn't. We're very. He's saying career shouldn't be your identity, and we're saying, well, and what we're talking about, we're not necessarily saying career should be your only identity
only
either.
identity either. You
So,
can have
so
you
we're
can have
saying
a
the same
multifaceted
thing when it
identity.
comes to that. But when he said career shouldn't be your identity, he's saying it as if he's like countering us. But we're not. We're not saying
I get
that.
But I think where there's a gap between us is that he thinks, and correct me if I'm wrong, he thinks that the identity of a career is less in purpose than this trad lifestyle. I think is what he's saying. He's saying that a traditional trad lifestyle,
correct,
in his opinion, supersedes the identity within a career, or just a multifaceted person that we're talking about.
I don't disagree with that.
I do agree with that.
If that's what he thinks, I don't disagree with that.
I think that's why we have these three different viewpoints. I also agree with you in that I think you can be multifaceted. Like you don't have to like pour yourself all in this cup or pour yourself all in this cup. Why not optimize the lifestyle that suits you better? And I think, to me, the optimal lifestyle is what you say. Have a plan until you find that person that you want to do. And even once you find that person, you can still have this in your wheelhouse of things that you do and what you define yourself by, even within the role of this traditional lifestyle.
Yes, 100%. And it could even make you be a better mom, and
it might make the relationship better.
Relationship, yes. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if I had to say what would I choose for, I don't know how to say this. I do think that there's more value in taking care of your family than in the career. But it doesn't mean I think that a career is unimportant, or that taking care of your family is the only important thing. I can say there's more value here and still see both sides and the importance of both, because I believe in the importance of both, and not using trad wife aspirations as a cop out to not doing anything, for example, after high school.
Right. And I think it also comes down to the life experience, like you said, because it's not, I think I was trying to get you reduced down to, like, at the bottom line too, if you go to college, then it increases the ability you have to monetize what you're doing. But I think what you also said was important. I wasn't trying to minimize what you were saying. In fact, that there's also an experience that comes with that. There's a building of the mind. There's a building of who you are and finding out why you think a certain way and why are you going to address a situation in this manner, and becoming an individual within yourself. Like I think that's very important too. And I think that's lost in this scapegoat of this trad wife lifestyle. It's like, well, just go into this identity and never find out who you are other than just motherhood and your identity within the marriage to your husband.
I do want to throw a monkey wrench into everything I'm saying, though.
Okay.
I think that most people that are conservatives or trad wives, not all, but okay, first let me say this. Most people meet their spouses in college. So if you're foregoing that whole thing to wait on your future husband, it's like, dude, go to college. He's probably there. Mm-hmm. He's right there in your English 101 class. But you're so focused on finding, college doesn't matter because I'm going to be a trad wife, so he's just going to come to me. And it's like, you just messed up because he's there. And then there's this whole thing of, if you're traditional and Christian, then you don't want to go to secular colleges because it is a whole different thing.
That's a good point.
Then let's go to Christian colleges. And I guarantee you will probably 95% find your husband there. And he's going to be obviously getting an education and likely going to be making future money that's going to be adequate to support a family so you can stay. So it's like, think about it. If you truly want to be a trad wife, probably go to college and find your guy.
But let's dial it back down to what she's saying, though. I don't
really do something for yourself.
I don't really want to use her term cringe. I know that's the popular term, but I think she's valid in what she's saying.
100. I do too.
Yeah. And I think it's unrealistic, which is also what I think she's saying. It's unrealistic for young women to expect that that's their way out or their way to their future, in my mind.
I don't necessarily agree with that part.
But I'm saying that's what she said.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with her like 97%. Yeah. Now, I think the only monkey wrench to that is if you, I don't know, even if you truly believe with that.
I think it's
believe
a
in that.
little more realistic than what she's letting, but than what she's saying, but I think she's like really frustrated. So she's like, it's unrealistic, which I can see where she's coming from.
Well, she might have just been trying, she could
But
be speaking
I don't
hyperbolically to
think
make her
if
post
it's
go
more
viral.
realistic, I don't think it's like, I do think it's more realistic than what she's making it seem in the video. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get the lifestyle you want. I don't think just sitting home, even if it's not going to college, let's do something career wise. Let's do something that's going to expand your mind. Let's do something. Like, don't just sit at home. And
because the goal of, in my opinion,
because that's
and this
weird.
becomes a deeper conversation, and I don't want to straddle too much off of the topic, but I think the goal of human existence is a self journey, a self discovery, a self learning, a self like building yourself up to have some type of value. And it doesn't necessarily mean monetary value or relationship value or being an NBA star or being an accountant, but like find some motivation and path within your life
that is
outside
yours.
of the relationship that you are planning to have, however you define that as.
100%.
And I think that's what she's also saying too.
I do too. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Aristotle said the same thing in many less words, and that's you are what you repeatedly do. He espoused teleology, the purpose, the study of the purpose of what it is to live a good life. He penned virtues and ethics and physics and metaphysics. That's pretty much what we should all be striving for. And this girl is totally off the mark. This Emily person.
In your opinion, I think she's on the mark.
I think she's on the mark.
So that's what we disagree.
I think she's really off the mark, and she's captured something. She's centered on something that is she's diagnosed something. Her treatment, I don't agree with. I think.
What do you think the treatment should be?
I think the treatment should be nothing less than a reversion back to traditional kind of norms and standards.
So what does that look like, though? Be specific.
When it comes to dating?
When it comes to the woman.
Something very simple is just a courtship kind of process, and which doesn't take very long. And then you decide if you want to continue with that person or not, and then if you don't, you discontinue that, you cut them off. And I mean, like it's a pretty.
But that doesn't. What you just said doesn't really address her question.
Okay, well,
she said define the role.
Define what that.
After you've already gotten past that.
What is it after you've gotten past what?
After you've already gotten past that, okay. So after
what?
He's saying past the courtship period.
So after you've already betrothed yourself to some person, trad wife, trad husband, right?
No, trad. Oh yeah, trad husband, not stay-at-home husband.
At that point, it's a very sacrificial relationship, very selfless. It's probably not fun all the time. It's probably not vacations to Cabo. It's probably just taking your kids. I guess
my question was more of what does that look like for a young woman? Because she's talking to these women. What does that look like for a young woman if she's not going to take, if they're not going to take Emily's prescription for, hey, wake up, like this is probably not likely for a lot of you, then and you don't agree with what Emily's saying to them, wake up, do something, or do something in the meantime, which is what we're saying.
He's saying that he subscribes to the idea of this new neo-trad wife identity.
So
it's not neo. I mean, it's something that it's a evolution of a something that has been going on.
Let me get more specific with my question to you. What does that look like for an 18-year-old graduating from high school? What will she do day to day, in your opinion, that is the right thing to do to achieve this lifestyle? That's my specific question.
Sure.
She's done with high school, graduated. Next week, what is she going to do in her life that you think is ideal? I know you think that lifestyle is ideal, but what should she do as her next step? Should she get a job at Chick-fil-A or at the mall, or should she go like what? That is my question right there. That will be the difference between what you think and what we think. So what should she do this summer after she graduates high school if she aspires to be a trad wife?
If Chick-fil-A paid a handsome amount,
Chick-fil-A is
the goal's not Chick-fil-A though.
She just
but regardless of what Chick-fil-A
she's
pays,
asking you like what
I said if Chick-fil-A paid a very nice amount, then maybe she should go and work there, but they don't pay enough.
Chick-fil-A, I mean, they don't
pay enough. So
it's not.
That's regardless of what Chick-fil-A pays, though, Chris. But regardless of what they pay, my question is, if a woman that's 18 wants to be a trad wife, right? Okay. And what should be her next step, regardless of how much a job pays or if she's even going to work? In your opinion, if you had an 18-year-old daughter who wants to be a trad wife, what would you tell her after she graduates from high school that you would guide her towards maybe being the next best step to do? What would that be?
I would say, if I was her father,
yes,
I would say you would just live with me,
okay,
until you find a husband.
And what would she do every day?
Whatever she wanted to do. Play with stickers. I don't know, like
play with stickers.
You know, plan her dog's birthday party.
Plan her dog's birthday party.
Or
and where does that leave her? How does that set her up for?
It's not really that different than what they're doing right now. But
so she should do what she was doing when she was 5 years old.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. That's crazy, and that's the difference. It's like you would, and then if a year goes by and she doesn't find her husband, then what do you suggest she keep doing?
Well, we
keep
can't
playing with
fine.
It's not going to happen right away.
We can't.
But my question is,
fine. I was being flippant, but look,
well, don't be flippant because I'm seriously asking.
You would show them how to create their own revenue on their own, rather than having an employer.
Good. That's good. That's good. That's along the lines of what we're saying.
So, which means the stock market.
Okay. Whatever.
So you would show them how to trade the stock market.
Okay.
And so they can, hey, these are skills I can show you how you can create your own revenue.
What if she's not? That's great. I do think that's great. What if she's not interested in the stock market because that's not how her brain thinks?
Well, not only that.
I would say, hey, are you interested in survival?
And your only problem with the stock market too is where does she get her initial investment? Unless you, as her father, are going to give it to her, which I don't.
Well, you would have to.
With that, but
that's what a job is for.
Okay, so
exactly.
Hey,
exactly.
Exactly. That's all we're saying.
Correct.
So you're disagreeing with what we're saying, and that's all we've been saying. That's what we've been saying. Until you find your guy, you can't sit home and pick your nose. That's exactly what we've been saying.
You have to find your capital, but that's the purpose of the job. So you don't encourage your daughter to go into some job indefinitely. You just say, hey, look, what's your hourly rate? How long do you have to do this until you have enough capital to invest in the market?
So then,
forget the market or the stock market.
Well, do you want her to work forever?
But even by your standard, then she still has to find.
We're talking about until she finds her husband that's going to let her not have that.
Until then,
she won't have to
generate her own money.
Right.
That's it. All we're saying. So why would you disagree? That's exactly what we're saying.
Because she should be able to do it without working.
Okay, that's fine.
Either through the help of her parents or.
I think we can wrap up the segment here.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up. We got to like the core of the discussion, and
sure,
I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, let's see.
Cut it. I'm over it. Cut it.